Seen from a distance in its raw form, Halloween appears to be a satanic and pagan ritual where horrifying costumes are worn. Homes are made to look disturbingly terrifying, creating a creepy atmosphere. All this seems like people are following a tradition they don't know about, which might have scary consequences. Yet people enjoy it, considering it a festival to be celebrated. So, whether Halloween is a satanic ritual or a normal one, what's its history and why do we celebrate Halloween in the first place? Most importantly, what's its ancient origin most people are unaware of and how it evolved during different periods? Welcome to a new episode of Uncovering Untold Stories, a channel where we talk about the secret and hidden historical stories, events, and incidents of the past that find their roots in either religious or history books. It's a place where you will hear the most unorthodox and hard-to-believe stories that have been forgotten but are part of history shaping our lives to this day. In this episode, we will tell you about the shocking history and reality of Halloween, which everyone, and especially every Christian, should know. Let's get started. What's interesting is that there was no single Halloween form. Rather, with history, every generation and region has influenced it, adding more elements and improving the present ones. Each generation has contributed its own twist to Halloween's rich traditions, blending folklore, literature, and cultural customs to create the holiday we enjoy today. However, it's believed that Halloween has roots in pagan rituals which were later Christianized. Many people know that Halloween has its roots in the ancient Celtic festival of Samhain, marking the end of the harvest and the onset of winter. When the Catholic Church sought to integrate these pagan customs, it transformed the celebration into All Hallows' Eve, which precedes All Saints' Day on November 1st. Even the jack-o'-lantern originated with the Celts, symbolizing the harvest and warding off evil spirits. Though Halloween has pagan origins, modern celebrations, like passing out candy and wearing costumes, are far removed from these ancient practices. However, there are also opinions that many of Halloween's foundational traditions stem from All Hallows' Day, also known as All Saints' Day, a Christian holiday dedicated to honoring saints. The evening before became known as All Hallows' Eve, which eventually evolved into the word Halloween, particularly in Scotland. Over time, November 2nd became known as All Souls' Day, a time to remember all departed Christians, particularly those believed to be in purgatory. Together, these 3 days, All Saints' Day, All Hallows' Eve, and All Souls' Day, form All Hallowtide, a Christian period of remembrance. Although it's not identical to the modern Halloween, All Hallowtide laid the groundwork for the spooky celebrations we now associate with October 31st. As All Hallowtide customs developed in Central and Western Europe during the late Middle Ages, they were marked by practices like tolling church bells in remembrance of the dead, displaying holy relics, and dressing up as saints. One particularly eerie tradition was the Danse Macabre or Dance of Death, which showed that death spares no one, whether kings or peasants. This medieval Christian allegory depicted everyone, regardless of social status, as equal in death. The dance between the living and the dead emphasized the fleeting nature of life and the importance of preparing spiritually. In some regions, it was even believed that the dead would rise on this night to dance themselves, further reinforcing the idea that death comes for all. By the 14th century, the practice of souling emerged as part of the evolving All Hallowtide customs. Poor children would go from house to house asking for soul cakes in exchange for prayers for the souls of the deceased. These soul cakes were small, spiced cakes marked with a cross, and the act of giving them symbolized Christian charity. Children who participated in souling often dressed in simple costumes, perhaps as a way to protect themselves from wandering spirits. They carried lanterns made from hollowed-out turnips, an early form of the modern jack-o'-lantern. This practice, which continued in some areas into the 20th century, bears similarities to Christmas caroling and other seasonal customs of collecting food or alms for charity. In addition, candles were lit to guide the souls of the dead back to their families, a tradition that remains in many cultures today. The Protestant Reformation of the 16th century brought changes to how All Hallowtide was observed, particularly as Protestant groups rejected the idea of purgatory. This led to differing interpretations of the holiday. One significant moment in England's history that influenced the direction of Halloween was the Gunpowder Plot of 1605. Guy Fawkes and his conspirators attempted to assassinate King James I and restore Catholicism to England, but their plan failed. November 5th became Guy Fawkes Day, or Bonfire Night, celebrated with bonfires and effigies, and these festivities may have influenced later Halloween celebrations. When European settlers, including Irish and Scottish immigrants, brought their Halloween customs to colonial America, these traditions gradually took root in the New World. While Puritans largely rejected Halloween, the Irish and Scottish played a key role in popularizing the holiday in the U.S. In particular, their practice of carving turnips into lanterns to ward off evil spirits found new life when they discovered that pumpkins, native to America, were easier to carve. By the 19th century, pumpkins had become a symbol of Halloween, and their use in jack-o'-lanterns became widespread. By the 1920s and 30s, pumpkins were firmly associated with Halloween celebrations in the United States. That's when you should know about the legend of Stingy Jack, also known as Drunk Jack, a fascinating tale from Irish folklore filled with trickery, deals with the devil, and a cursed fate. Jack, a notorious troublemaker, was infamous for his lying, deception, and scoundrel ways. One night, after drinking heavily, Jack encountered none other than the devil himself. Intrigued by Jack's wicked reputation, the devil had come to claim his soul. Desperate to delay his fate, Jack begged for one last drink, and in an unusual act of mercy, the devil agreed. They headed to a pub for what Jack intended to be his final drink. But Jack had other plans. After several rounds, Jack tricked the devil into turning himself into a silver coin to pay for their drinks. The moment the devil transformed, Jack quickly pocketed the coin and placed it next to a crucifix, trapping the devil. Faced with no choice, the devil struck a deal. He would spare Jack for one more year if Jack released him. Jack agreed, and the devil was freed. A year later, the devil returned to claim Jack's soul. However, Jack, ever the cunning trickster, managed to outwit him again. This time, Jack convinced the devil to climb an apple tree. Once the devil was up in the branches, Jack surrounded the tree with crucifixes, trapping him once more. Furious but outmaneuvered, the devil agreed to never take Jack's soul to hell. Eventually, Jack's time on Earth came to an end. But neither heaven nor hell would take him. Heaven rejected him due to his sinful life, and hell couldn't claim him due to the devil's promise. Instead, Jack was cursed to wander the earth for eternity. As a parting gift, the devil gave him a burning ember from the fires of hell. Jack placed the ember inside a hollowed-out turnip to light his way, and so he became known as Jack of the Lantern or Jack-o'-lantern, a ghostly figure doomed to roam with his eerie, flickering light. This eerie tale of Stingy Jack may have gained popularity due to natural phenomena like the will-o'-the-wisp, also known as ignis fatuus or fool's fire. These flickering lights, caused by gases igniting over marshes and bogs, were often seen in the countryside at night, sparking spooky folklore. People witnessing these mysterious flames in the darkness might have believed they were seeing Jack himself, wandering with his lantern. These natural occurrences added an extra layer of mystery and fear to the already chilling legend of Stingy Jack. Jack's light undoubtedly contributed to how Halloween was celebrated. Before we continue further, tell us, are you enjoying the video? If yes, please like and share the video and subscribe to our channel to watch more videos about little heard and untold real historical stories. Let's continue now. Furthermore, when Irish and Scottish immigrants arrived in America, they brought many traditions with them, including guising, a practice that involved children dressing up and going door to door asking for treats. This custom, first reported in Ontario, Canada in the early 1910s, soon spread to the U.S., with cities like Chicago and Anoka, Minnesota adopting it. However, it wasn't until the late 1930s that the term trick-or-treating became common in America. The concept behind trick-or-treating was simple. Children would ask for treats, and if none were given, they might pull a harmless prank. This tradition has roots in a deeper cultural belief from Scotland and Ireland, where refusing to give to souling or guising children could bring bad luck, while generosity was believed to bring good fortune. Over time, the practice of threatening tricks for treats became more playful, evolving into the lighthearted Halloween tradition we know today. Before trick-or-treating became the norm, October 30th was often celebrated as Mischief Night, a time for pranks like egging houses or tipping over wagons. As these pranks got out of hand, communities embraced the organized fun of trick-or-treating as a safer way for kids to enjoy Halloween while keeping the troublemaking at bay. Halloween in America continued to evolve, especially after World War II when sugar rationing ended, and the holiday became a family-friendly occasion. What started as a holiday for children soon grew into a celebration for all ages. Although the secular version of Halloween now dominates, All Hallowtide, the Christian observance of All Saints' Day and All Souls' Day, remains an important religious tradition for many. But what about the imagery of Halloween like ghosts, witches, vampires, and ghouls? Well, this owes much to Gothic literature from the Victorian era. Authors like Bram Stoker, Mary Shelley, and Edgar Allan Poe drew from European folklore to create the iconic horror stories that continue to shape our modern Halloween traditions. The Victorian fascination with death, the supernatural, and eerie tales helped define the spooky aesthetics we now associate with Halloween, from haunted houses to well-dressed ghosts with mysterious pasts. Bram Stoker's Dracula, published in 1897, introduced readers to the enigmatic Count Dracula, a charming but dangerous nobleman from the Carpathian Mountains. Beneath his aristocratic exterior, Dracula harbors a terrifying secret as he is a vampire, a creature of the night who feeds on the living by draining their blood. However, stories of blood-sucking creatures predate Dracula. Cultures around the world have long told tales of such beings. In medieval Europe, many deaths were attributed to supernatural causes, and the dead were sometimes suspected of rising again as vampires. When exhumed, corpses often exhibited signs of natural decomposition, while hair and nails appeared longer, blood pooled around the mouth, and bodies bloated from gases. These phenomena, which we now understand as part of the decomposition process, were interpreted as signs of vampirism. To ensure these suspected vampires stayed dead, communities would behead or stake the corpses, which only fueled more vampire legends. Eventually, Empress Maria Theresa of Austria sent a physician to debunk these myths, as grave desecration had become a widespread problem, leading to laws prohibiting such practices. Adding to vampire folklore was the discovery of the vampire bat in the 17th century. The bat's blood-sucking behavior only heightened fears of creatures that roam during the night, particularly in Europe and the Americas. While many cultures viewed bats with suspicion, some, like the Chinese, saw them as symbols of good fortune. These contrasting views highlight the complex and varied interpretations surrounding these mysterious animals. Fear of the supernatural wasn't limited to the dead. Between the 14th and 19th centuries, many women were accused of practicing witchcraft. Those who were elderly lived alone, or behaved in ways that set them apart from the community were often targeted. Everyday items like brooms, cauldrons, and certain types of clothing became associated with witchcraft. Other supernatural creatures like ghosts, zombies, and werewolves have also become central to Halloween's eerie atmosphere. Nearly every culture has stories about the undead. Ghosts, for instance, are widely believed in, with many claiming to have experienced ghostly encounters. While some spirits are considered benign, others, like the poltergeist or noisy ghost, are evil and feared for their disruptive behavior. And that's when the concept of the zombie originated. It has roots in African and Haitian traditions, with reanimated corpses gaining popularity in modern horror through stories like Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. The werewolf legend, dating back to ancient Greece, describes a person transforming into a wolf, often under the influence of a full moon. Much like witches, werewolves were often suspected of being in league with dark forces and were hunted during times of fear and uncertainty. Therefore, the supernatural creatures that fill our Halloween festivities, from vampires and ghosts to witches and werewolves, are products of centuries of folklore, storytelling, and cultural fears. As these tales have evolved, each generation has added its own spin, ensuring that Halloween remains a holiday drenched in mystery and a little bit of fright. Adding to the mystery and charm of Halloween is the tale of the Poe Toaster, a figure who remains as elusive as he is fascinating. From around 1930 to 2009, this mysterious person, or perhaps two, possibly a father and son, visited Edgar Allan Poe's grave every year on his birthday. The tradition involved leaving 3 roses and a bottle of cognac, a tribute that intrigued fans and historians alike. Despite many attempts to uncover the Poe toaster's identity, it remains unsolved, adding yet another layer of mystery to the legacy of this literary giant. While Halloween's origins are rooted in religious customs and folklore, the modern version of this holiday has also been shaped by more recent traditions. Costumes, trick-or-treating, and parties are all part of today's Halloween celebrations, which have evolved in response to cultural shifts over time. The first U.S. president to celebrate Halloween at the White House was Dwight D. Eisenhower in 1958, thanks to his wife, Mamie. Since then, Halloween has grown into a major cultural event in the U.S., with people across the country embracing the spooky fun. In many parts of the world, All Hallowtide, a Christian period for remembering the dead, is observed, but it isn't always synonymous with Halloween. Modern Halloween, with its roots in ancient traditions, truly took shape in the U.S. and has spread through American pop culture. In Celtic nations like Ireland and Scotland, Halloween is still celebrated with its own unique customs. England, while historically focused on Guy Fawkes Day, has embraced Halloween in recent years. In places like Japan, the Philippines, and South Korea, Halloween has gained popularity, though older generations often view it as an American import driven by commercialism rather than a genuine cultural event. In countries like Australia and New Zealand, Halloween feels a bit out of sync with the season, as it takes place during spring when flowers are blooming, not leaves falling. Meanwhile, much of Asia, the Middle East, and Africa don't celebrate Halloween, though similar festivals do exist. But what about the possibility of Halloween being satanic and demonic? Well, a quote often attributed to Anton LaVey, founder of the Church of Satan and author of the Satanic Bible, has made people curious today. He said, "I'm glad Christians let their kids worship the devil at least one night out of the year. That's because, for most, Halloween is not a spiritually significant holiday. It has become a mass-marketed event, primarily centered around dressing up in costumes and enjoying candy. However, for some Christians, the materialism, selfishness, and focus on self-gratification that aligns with LaVey's Satanism pose a greater spiritual threat than the ghosts associated with Halloween. These cultural messages, which elevate the self as the ultimate moral compass, can be more harmful than the spooky imagery we often see during the holiday season." Despite Halloween's commercialization and the rise of more grotesque elements, many people still see it as a harmless celebration. Seasonal catalogs offer a mix of decorations, from cute and whimsical to creepy and monstrous, catering to a variety of tastes. While some embrace the scarier aspects, others prefer to keep things light with pumpkins, fall decor, and kid-friendly costumes. For most, Halloween remains an occasion for community, creativity, and fun. Yet, it's important to recognize how the cultural shifts around Halloween reflect broader societal changes. The darker side of Halloween isn't necessarily in the candy or costumes, but in how it increasingly mirrors society's fascination with violence, death, and fear. This shift prompts a deeper question. Is Halloween still about fun, or has it become a reflection of our collective preoccupation with the horrible? Did you know about the reality of Halloween and why it's celebrated? Do you find it odd to wear satanic costumes, or should it be just considered a normal festival like any other? In the comment section right below, share your thoughts on whether this festival can be made free of activities that might be linked to Satan. Do you want to watch more videos like this one? If yes, subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon next to it. We bring videos on stories that might sound controversial, mysterious, and shocking, but are real and have roots in religious and history books. Thanks for watching, and until the next video, stay tuned.